Welcome to the video blog. We're here at the T3 PRSA conference. I'm standing with Phil Gomes. Phil is Senior Vice President, Digital Media at Edelman. Welcome to the video blog.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great. Now, you just moderated a session here, and one of the topics that came up was this whole convergence of both media and communications. So, one short answer, how do you navigate through it?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of PR folks are being sort of unnecessarily scared by the enormity of social media and the fact that the rules have, changed quite a bit, right? If you, for example, if you approach a blogger or a denizen of MySpace or Facebook and you say, hey, this is under embargo, they're going to think Cuba, right? So, a lot of these things, the best thing that people could do listening to this, if they're, just getting into it, just sort of, trying to figure out how do online communities and social media matter to my brand, client, or company? Best thing to do is have your hand in it. Listen, find out what people's pain point is. And I mentioned during my talk that it's like, look, Craigslist, arguably one of the most successful online communities of all time, to the detriment, of course, of $4 billion in classified ads or whatever the new number is. Their rule number one when they started was Craigslist exists to give people a break, right? Okay, so that's what brands and companies need to do. And giving people a break does not equal carpet bomb them with free stuff, right? It has to do with, how can you help them do what they want to do and influence the brand and even empower them to feel like that they have a stake in that thing that they're most passionate about.
And when you talk about them, these are people you're reaching with social media who you want to spread positive news, or is it the media themselves or web influencers, or both?
It's all becoming the same thing right now, right? I mean, one of the leading spots online to talk about high definition TV is created by two guys in Southern California, I think. I think Paul Gillen writes about them in his book.
Didn't two guys in Southern California also create Google? They might have been Northern California, but we digress.
Silicon Valley, I'm from that region. We lay claim to Google, as a matter of fact. I think you're thinking of MySpace, which is actually based in Beverly Hills.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the idea that two guys together can do a lot of things.
Can change
together.
The world.
Right, but I mean, it's becoming so democratized in terms of who has the power of communication. As a PR communicator, how do you deal with that? How do you identify who matters? You know what?
Everybody matters, frankly. And I think people
prioritize would be a better. We all matter, but clearly you don't have resources to reach every person out there.
Of course you don't, but I mean, listen to the inherent bias of the language. The resources to reach everybody out there. So with $50, George Wright at Blendtec reached 109 million people, right? So did he go out and pitch every single one? No, right? The idea is that if you build content that is educational quality, conversational quality, journalistic quality, that people would want to consume, that isn't, a half hour long or something like that, but is in nice bite-sized, chunks that actually provides value to somebody objectively, right? Then, that's a good way to reach a lot of these audiences, right?
And that raised the question of how important is involving video?
Well, you know what? We have to tell stories visually, right? I mean, I think in PR, when we look at our toolkit, typically we only look at the written word. It's the user interface of the communications profession. Even when you see something on TV, chances are there's a script behind it. There's not a script here, by the way, but anyway. So it's a way to make a story, a lot more compelling, and with highly increased broadband penetration, not only into your home and office, but into your cell phone, right? Video is a very compelling way to get that message out, and in a way that, if you do it right, if you keep it short, crisp, tight, it does a really good job.
If you could give one final thought on overall best practice, you're suddenly in control of all PR and communication in the world. What's the thing you're telling people, stop doing this, do more of this?
I'd have to say, stop treating members of online communities as a piece of meat, essentially, is what I tell people, is that they shouldn't treat them just with this sort of spray and pray mentality because the CMO or a client or the CEO is breathing down their neck saying, I've got the Business Week cover story on blogs, go get us some blogs, and I don't care how you do it, go, right? Really taking the time to take that sort of investment. And that goes into what I'd like to see more of is that, people to not think of social media or online community engagement as a quick fix or a tonic or an elixir that makes a good program awesome or a mediocre program just sort of kind of rise to good, right? And kind of realize that it takes a long time to reap the benefit of that community. And I use the analogy of the truck, right? Mm-hmm. So Sam Whitmore of Sam Whitmore Media Survey loves to make the analogy of the truck. It's like, the guy with the truck, when do his friends call him? His so-called friends? Whenever he has to move, right? So, don't treat online communities like the guy with the truck, right? Treat them as if it's a friendship. It's a relationship that you have to grow and invest in over time.
Great. And the final thought, it sounds like, is that online media is really becoming mainstream media. It's not mainstream media dying.
Exactly.
Great. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.